Civil War espionage was almost always isolated, tedious, often mundane. The process of infiltration, scouting, interrogation. More times than not, gathered information did not lead to major consequences, but here is an instance where a prominent Union officer made excellent use of intelligence, and it led to one of the war's greatest decisions. As we mentioned earlier, back in January of 1863, the Federal Army of the Potomac went under the command of Major General Joseph Hooker. His 6-month tenure was personally and militarily a most stormy one, including defeat at Chancellorsville. Yet, despite his many faults and vices, he did initiate an excellent all-source intelligence system. He created a Bureau of Military Intelligence with capable people in place and who, with their gathered intelligence, not only created a battle, but won it. It was June of 1863. On the 12th, Captain John McEntee interviewed 2 African Americans. Their interviews revealed that Lee and his army were headed north from the Rappahannock River on a 150-mile trek to cross the Potomac a second time during the war. This info jump-started Hooker's Army of the Potomac to cover Washington and compete in the race for Pennsylvania. If there had been no word, the Federals would have learned of Lee's move with the fall of Winchester, Virginia, 5 days later. As Lee marched, Sergeant Milton Kline and a few Union spies actually mingled with Lee's veterans for 4 days. They confirmed Lee's intent. Conversely, about this time, Confederate intelligence failed. To confuse Hooker, Confederates let it be known that Lee's rear was across the Potomac 2 days ahead of when it would actually cross. Now, Hooker fell for it, but rather than help, it hurt Lee, for Hooker rushed his army across the Potomac. Meanwhile, at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Brigadier General John Buford interrogated 2 Confederate prisoners. Their info corroborated a captured courier's report that Gettysburg was Lee's intent, not Chambersburg, some 25 miles to the west. That allowed the Army of the Potomac's new commander, George Gordon Meade, to concentrate. You see, Lee did not expect Federals at Gettysburg. On June the 30th, Confederate Brigadier General James Johnston Pettigrew tried to communicate that they were indeed there, but his immediate superiors, Harry Heath and A.P. Hill, discounted Pettigrew's report. On day 2 of the unexpected battle, the unexpected collision at Gettysburg, 1,360 Confederate prisoners were taken. That's when former Commander Joe Hooker's creation, the Bureau of Military Intelligence, really earned its stripes. The head of the Bureau, 35-year-old New Yorker, we've mentioned him earlier, Colonel George Henry Sharp, former architect from Chicago and degree holder from Rutgers and law degree from Yale, and he went to work. With John C. Babcock, Lieutenant Frederick Manning, and Captain McEntee, they, after interrogating those Confederate prisoners captured July the 2nd, gathered their information and put an intelligence report together. Babcock authored their collective analysis, which revealed that Confederate prisoners had been taken from every brigade in Lee's entire army except 4. And those 4 made up George Pickett's division, which had just arrived on the field. That crucial piece of intel was brought to a council of war held around midnight of the 2nd in Meade's headquarters, the Leicester House. Packed in a small room, George Gordon Meade sat at a little table with 9 of his generals. On the table, crackers and a half-pint of whiskey. Meade, who was ordered to take command only 5 days before the great battle began, had not eaten in 2 days. He was hungry, tired, and bore the weight of command of an army defending Northern territory. After 2 days of desperate fighting, he had to make a decision: retreat or stay. And if his army stayed, go on the offensive or remain on the defensive. Before he made this incredibly important decision, he wanted Colonel Sharp to present Babcock's intelligence report. Sharp dutifully reported that Lee had only a small body of unused cavalry. And then, the clincher. That Confederate prisoners had been captured from every Confederate brigade except Pickett's, who again had just arrived. It was 2nd Corps Commander Major General Winfield Scott Hancock who immediately understood the impact of what had just been presented: that Lee had only 4 brigades that were fresh. Hancock blurted, "General, we have got them nicked." George Gordon Meade, the commander of the Army of the Potomac, was now aware, thanks to intelligence, that there were only 15,000 to 20,000 fresh Confederates, and he had some 58,000. He had a 4-to-1 advantage. Armed with that intelligence, 9 generals reacted to fact, not speculation. All 9 unanimously voted to remain on the field. All 9 voted to stay on the defensive. Mentally and militarily reinforced, Meade stated, "Such, then, is the decision." It was an eventful one. For the next day, it made the Pickett-Pettigrew-Trimble charge a doomed one. Meade and his generals won the Battle of Gettysburg thanks in part to Joseph Hooker's creation, the Bureau of Military Intelligence. Its intelligence kept Meade at Gettysburg for the climactic 3rd day. Had he retreated to the southeast, which he considered, Gettysburg would have been yet another drawn battle like Antietam. I'd like to take a moment to thank everyone for listening to Threads from the National Tapestry. You know, each of these episodes is the result of hours and hours of research and preparation, and it means a great deal to me and our production team to see the likes, the comments, and views. Let me make clear that everything we do here will always be accessible to any who are curious to learn about the American Civil War. But we would like to ask you to consider to become a member, a Threads loyalist, if you will. For less than $5 each month, your support will help us to continue sharing our passion for that tumultuous yet important period of history. Joining is quite easy to do. At the top of each show description, you'll find a link, if you will, to join, whether you're watching, liking, commenting, or becoming a Threads loyalist. If you click on that link, your support for Threads from the National Tapestry will mean a great deal to me, to our team, and there's no question any contribution, your support, certainly makes a difference, and it's a wonderful acknowledgement for what we try to do. Thank you.